The Spawn animated TV series is peak. Spawn in Mortal Kombat is peak. Spawn is hype moments and aura galore when you read the comics, though. Because Todd McFarlane, as a writer, is mad doo-doo. Dude, he should stick with being an artist. Like, no one can say this. Batman has the best supporting cast as well. The kids are cool, bro. The literal students are fire. Now, when it comes to opinions online, there are two varieties. The first is the public opinion, which is, for the most part, is just a collective agreement, and then there is the personal opinion. And I've been realizing that a lot of people like to jump on the bandwagon. What they'll do is that when they see a comment or a video or something out of the ordinary have a lot of views and a lot of likes, a lot of things that people would do is just copy what they say, right? They'll go along the lines of what's already been talked about and not really drop anything of interest, right? It's always the first a couple of characters that they're usually the biggest, and people like to say they are overrated, which makes sense considering they are on the top, but it's not really interesting, and a lot of the points is kind of just null and void for the most part. And I don't really want to follow this collective wave of just ignorance, because a lot of times people just don't know what they're saying, right? And they see all these people with all these likes, and they're like, I want to seem educated, I want to be knowledgeable, I want to be in the group, so let me just like agree with them, right? Then let me just spout it out like a parrot and see what happens. But for me, what I want to do with this video is essentially talk about characters that I have hot takes about, that I know some people are going to get mad about, and then I want to talk about characters. Well, I'm going to be doing this at the same time collectively, just going back and forth between these two, but then I want to talk about characters that people as a whole, or as a consensus, a lot of people say are overrated. But yeah, I haven't even said what the video topic is, haven't I? What is, let me fix that. What is the most overrated superhero in comics? Now, before we get started, I kind of want to know what you guys think down below. Who is, in your opinion, you can give me one, you can give me your top 5, you can give me your top 3. I don't really care. I just want to see engagement, and I want to see you guys talking with each other, because that's what this really is about, just building community. So I want to see the top overrated characters in your opinion. This can be anything, and I want to see like a civil discussion, because a lot of times people that disagree or they just say things and it just goes unargued, right? And I just want to see this consensus of what people think and what their thought process is when it comes to this. Is it going to be the common things that people say, or if they have an actual other reason that might be more quote unquote intellectual? Not that I have any say on that, but I digress. Here we are. Let's talk about some characters. So first things first, this might be kind of crazy to say, considering he just came off a $1 billion film. $2 billion probably, I don't even know. But it is Deadpool. Let me explain my case with Exhibit A. So picture this. You are this, I don't want to say underground character, but you're not really known by many. Maybe you're at most B tier, you're probably C tier. Most people probably only know you from Ultimate Alliance. And then all of a sudden you get this huge uptick in just being popular, right? A lot of people like you now because you're in the mainstream. And this is because you just got a blockbuster film, right? It's pretty popular, everyone likes it. And on top of that, in the same time frame, you also get a very popular game. So if you're on a 2x boost of popularity, you just got an injection shot in your arm full of popularity and adrenaline. And you're boosting to the stratosphere at this point. What do you think is going to happen from this boost? There's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of, misconceptions. So Deadpool, at the same time, had a pretty popular video game and a pretty popular movie. And both had two completely different depictions, but they both influenced how the mainstream look at the character from a critical lens. A lot of people, because of the video game, like to say that Deadpool's main thing, and this is not even true, they like to either say that he is a gag character, or the lesser of two evils, they say that his main thing is that he is the comedic punchline. He is the comedy of the script that allows some levity during dark moments, or literally just to be a meme machine gun, just spitting out just references or just jokes. Now, this is not the character. right? But the thing is, the problem with this is that with Marvel in particular, not really DC, but with Marvel in particular, when something gets popular, they like to do something I like to call brand synergy. Well, what the normal person calls brand synergy. And in these cases, they will take what was popular in that source of media and kind of like imprint it, like just like put all of that into the comic version. And for a time, I think it was during, was it during Daniel Way's run? I don't know, but like he was just a joke factory. This guy was making toys out of jokes, and it just gets annoying. You just become an absolute pain to read at some point. Like people think, oh, that's funny, blah blah blah, in like the movies and stuff. But when you're reading that nonstop, the thing about comics is that comics, when compared to films, there's two different entertainment factors. When you're watching a film, you're trying to turn your brain off. You're not trying to do that, but you would be completely satisfied with turning your brain off and letting the pretty pictures and fight scenes and goofy dialogue just be that escape for you for those like 2 hours, right? Perfectly fine. But with comics, it's more about I want it to be good writing, because if it's not good writing, what am I wasting my time here for? At the very least entertaining, or even at bare minimum, there's something interesting that author is trying to convey. With Deadpool, for a certain point of time, because of his popularity and certain depictions, he was just jokes, and I don't see, unless you're like trying to like figure out what's the best thing to say at a comedy show, what type of value you kind of get from that. Especially when it just dismantles the previous version of the character, which was such a complex one too. And the problem with Marvel is that these types of like synergy, it works, as I've said before with my other analogy, it's kind of like waves, because it comes in and out depending on popularity. If this version is popular, they'll kind of hijack the main comic version with that version's personality for a bit, but then it'll go back to normal. So it's like, why would you even do this in the first place, right? If you're going to switch it back. And the thing is, the people that are watching this media are not going to read the comic books. The people who decide to read the comic books are more than likely going to watch the media. So what is this inverse, like, who are you appealing to? On top of that, Ryan Reynolds, I've said this before in my previous video, which made some people think I hate Ryan Reynolds' version of Deadpool. That's not the case. I think he might be, no, he is the best depiction of Deadpool in outside media, other than the comics, because he is layered. But the thing about it is that he has a specific way of talking that's uniquely Ryan Reynolds. And because of that, if you try to like portray that in comic form, it's really easy to pick up on they're just trying to imitate Ryan Reynolds and not trying to create their own clever dialogue, right? And at that point, you're like, shouldn't I just watch the movie at that point? Like, if I want this version of the character, I'll just watch the movie. It just kind of invalidates what we came here to read about. Because Deadpool as a character, like when you do all of these things, if you do the movie version or the video game version, it strips away some key tenets, and some of those things is just being that sad clown archetype. I know a lot of people think that archetype is being overdone, but in my opinion, it depends on execution, and Deadpool in the comics has a really great execution of this, because you have to kind of look at it. During the Rob Liefeld days, he was a villain, right? He was in a similar situation as Deathstroke from DC, where he is a mercenary. And then over time, through reinventions, like particularly Joe Kelly's comic run on Deadpool, is where we got to see more shades of gray, right? But then also it became a lot more black and white in some cases, because we got to see, even in further runs like the Duggan run, that Deadpool does have a heart of gold that was just kind of stripped away from all of these crazy things that happened to him. You have to think about it. He was a mercenary. He had to like fight in the quote-unquote gladiator-like fight pits, right? In the Deadpool. That was what it was called in the jail. And he also signed up to be a part of Weapon X because of his cancer, right? And that literally just overcharged his cancer to the point where he became a tumor, a literal walking tumor. But the healing factor that he got from Wolverine just subsidized it to the point where he is still living. This man is constantly in pain. I kind of liken it to, like, if you remember that scene in Civil War where, like, Crossbones, like, turns on, like, the suicide vest, and then Scarlet Witch, like, puts a portal, not a portal, a force field around him, and then he is just consistently engulfed in flames without the explosion actually going off yet. That is Deadpool, right? He makes all of these jokes, these puns, these references as a way to make it through the world, get through the day, because without it, he will literally go into a spiral of depression worse than where he already is. You have to remember, Deadpool as a character, he has all of these mental health issues, and because, like, I don't even want to list them, it's too extensive, and because of all of these jokes and things that he makes, it allows him some sense of clarity, because without it, he would be even more insane than he already is. And we wouldn't want that. This is his anchor to the world. A world that's done him so dirty over his, I don't know, probably 40+ years of living, right? And he has turned it around. He has created a redemption story for himself. There is an arc where you could see the progression of him as a villain to a anti-hero light, where he was still doing bad things, but trying his best to do the right thing, to actually leveling up to the point where we saw him as someone who would even at times gain Captain America's respect, to someone who would actually get an Avengers ID card and be a part of the team, to someone who has such a heart of gold that they will stay by someone's bedside and talk with them in their last moments. He doesn't even know them. He would be the person, he was the person to talk somebody out of committing suicide. This is the person that Deadpool has evolved himself into, and to see him in certain lights being depicted as someone who's just non-stop jokes, chimichanga, he doesn't even like the word, man. And it just annoys me, right, how that version of the character has been melded into the comic version. And truth be told, I don't think Deadpool as a character, ever since his popularity, has reached a level of consistency that he's had in the past. I don't remember the last time, maybe it was Duggan's run, since he had a good comic. Like a real one that everyone's like, this is a comic that you need to read. Overall, the last one was probably not even his run, it was Rick Reminder's Uncanny X-Force, where like everyone was wearing their white and not white, gray, black, and red outfits, and it was the one where there's also a really good moment in there where like they have this argument about killing like Kid Apocalypse when they went back in time, right? And Deadpool was the main person to argue against it, right? Even Wolverine was like, we gotta do this, right? Deadpool was the one with the heart, was like, I can't, I'm not gonna be a part of this. And it's weird because as a person, you think somebody like Logan would be that person, but Logan he's so lost in the sauce at this point in the story that Deadpool being the sane one is crazy. Being the voice of reason is absolutely mind-boggling, but it also shows just the light of his character, right? How far he's progressed. Even like that one where it's like Archangel in the same run, Archangel was like, I don't know if he was dying or something, but Deadpool was literally there cutting off pieces of his flesh to feed Archangel so that he could live. He was like, I'm going to do this to my body just so that you can make it through a couple days until help comes, right? And he's over here still making jokes and cracking puns because that's how he gets through these dark moments, right? That is Deadpool. And just seeing how he's been just completely vandalized over the years has just, it's not just only sad, but it's also just hurtful, right? It's turned me down a road of just not liking Deadpool because all the versions I see for the most part are just such a shell of what he used to be. Post-Production Matrix here, just stopping by to say that over 95% of you guys are not subscribed. Please, if you do, it would really help the channel out a ton. We're on our way to 2K subs, and we've been making pretty good progress. Thank you guys so much for getting to 1.1K so fast. But yeah, that's all there is from me right now, and yeah, on with the video. Now, let's continue further. Batman. Batman as a character is very interesting to me because people say that he's overrated, but I don't really agree. People say that maybe in universe he might be a bit overrated. Yeah, maybe so. I guess you could probably say that certain characters shouldn't be afraid of him and stuff like that. But like a lot of times people call him overrated because he's beating characters that he shouldn't. But for the most part, if you actually read the comics, you would realize he is someone who preps out of L's. This man loses first, maybe multiple times, Then he runs back the fade. He does not, it's not like he's like fighting like, I don't know, Darkseid on a whim. He's not boxing with Darkseid, bro. He's not about that life to that degree of like, I don't know, like plot-induced stupidity. He's not doing something like that. He's just playing his cards. He's using his intelligence. World's greatest detective. You'd assume that he'd be able to pick up on cues that would help out his case. I don't know what it's about. Maybe it's about like the no-kill rule. Maybe that they say that he is not all that because he doesn't kill his villains. He's still leading his city or whatever to despair or whatever you want to say. I don't know what exactly is the main contributor of people considering Batman overrated. I know it's one of those two. Maybe in some cases a mixture of both. But in my opinion, if we take a step back and we look at the entire, I was gonna call it the trophies. If we look at Batman's accolades in just media in general, let's just give it the rundown. Let's just glaze real quick. Batman 1989, biggest movie of the year, I'm pretty sure. And that leads to something called Batmania. Everyone and their mother is talking about Batman. Comic sales are going through the roof. This man is getting 650,000 copies sold on one issue, right? These are sales that no one around him is getting. Even when other big heroes got their blockbuster movies, they weren't getting these sales. The only other character I could probably compare it to is probably Spider-Man during the Raimi days. That's the only other character. Maybe Superman jumped from during the Christopher Reeve days because those first two movies were pretty good. But overall, no one is doing it like Batman. That is my GOAT for a reason. I will not let this slander slide. Let's continue. And let's look at films. Most of us would agree that the best superhero film of all time, in terms of quality, not in terms of what we like personally, would be from the Dark Knight trilogy. It would be The Dark Knight. And even then, let me cut myself off. Even then, a lot of people say Batman Begins is a better superhero film. And I can't even blame them because that film, its script is so airtight. I can't really poke any holes in it, honestly. And I think it also has one of my favorite depictions of Bruce Wayne as well. And then, of course, coming off of that, The Batman being one of my favorite comic book movies in the past 5, 6, 7 years. Honestly, it's probably the best comic book film that we've got in terms of a quality level, in terms of like a craftsmanship level in a long time. And then building on top of that, the Penguin TV show that just came out is in contention of being the best comic book show of all time. And Batman as a character, his mythology is so great that has led to his villains having Academy Awards. 2 for Joker and then 1 for Penguin. That's how goated Batman's like entire just support. His world is so great that it has led to the side characters and the villains getting nominated for these things. How can he be overrated if there's so many accolades? Let's move it to animation. Batman the Animated Series, one of the all-time greats. Batman Beyond, one of the all-time greats. The Batman, 2004. Batman Brave and the Bold. I'm just giving you all-time bangers back to back to back. These are the things that are on the leaderboard that people are trying to discredit. Video games. The Arkham series was indeed the blueprint for superhero games for, I don't know, let's say 10 years. I think it's still the blueprint considering that there's no other superhero franchise to get as much games back to back as that and be as successful and as high praised as that. Like, I was thinking it was going to be Insomniac Spider-Man, but people are hating on Spider-Man to oblivion at this point. I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. They rushed the game. Not only that, we just had was it this year? It was last year. Last year we just got Arkham Shadow, and that was somehow peak for being a VR game. Like, he has the best VR games too. Like, what more could you want out of a brother? He has some of the best comics. Like, yeah, he might not be as consistent in recent years. If we look at bro's portfolio, we see The Dark Knight Returns, The Killing Joke, Batman Year One, The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, The Man Who Laughs, Batman Ego, Gotham Central, all of the many great detective comics runs that there was, Batman and Robin, on and on, even like spin-offs like Gotham Academy. We got a goated series about kids going to Gotham Academy school. Can your favorite character ever say anything like that? Can they go through their list of peak and say, yo, check this out. I have something like this. I have a comic about kids going to school, and it's somehow peak. Like, no one can say this. Batman has the best supporting cast as well. The kids are cool, bro. The literal students are fire. The police officers, there's no other character with a supporting cast of police who are as well developed. Commissioner Gordon, Montoya, Bullock, Kitsch, Driver, Josie Mack. Like, there's so many good ones. And Nightwing, Batgirl, you have all of these spin-off franchises that have become their own thing, bro. I've become one of Nightwing's biggest enjoyers at the moment. Like, his recent run, like Nightwing's recent run is peak. At the moment, we have, like, the good thing about being a Batman fan is that despite all of the haters, you still have 4 or 5 great comics going on at the same time. Like, we have an invincible, impervious shield in front of us while people are just throwing this hate that just bounces off. That's just my take. I know I'm glazing a bit too hard right now, but I'm telling you, Batman hate is not needed. And it will never do anything. He will still be more popular than your favorite. I'm sorry. Now, let's move on to, let's do an indie example, like an indie comics example. I'm kind of leaning towards talking about either Invincible or Spawn. Let's talk briefly about both. How about that? Okay. Invincible. Do I think he's overrated as a character? Not really. Do I think the comic is a bit overrated? Yeah, I would say so. Invincible as a comic series, people like to point it as it's the godfather of just great modern day comics. I'm like, that's like somebody who hasn't read comics and they only really point at it being easy to read as one of its main things. If you've read Invincible, like, at least from what I've read, the beginning parts are like the first like 20, 30 issues. It's like good, but I'm like, the show is just so much better. Like, it's just, I can't really fathom it, honestly, but overall, I like Invincible as a character. I feel like he's one of the most realistic characters in terms of being a kid who becomes a superhero, how you would act. Like, you would have this moral compass just from being like, I wouldn't want to kill people because my dad literally just, I don't know, destroyed like 2, 3, 4,000 people in a blink of an eye. I don't want to be like that. But then over time, as things happen, your virtues and your values get tested to the point where you just crash out and you just don't want to deal with anything like that. You've seen it too many times where it's like you become jaded, right? You have your crash out arc and it's perfectly justifiable. But on top of that, you're kind of stupid because if you've seen Invincible, you know that this guy does some dumb things without thinking. And then one of the times, I'm pretty sure he kills somebody that he didn't really have to kill. Like, bro was like, I'm gonna break my no kill rule. I'm gonna, like, I don't know, I'm gonna kill this guy. But it's like, there's literally an easier and morally justifiable solution literally 2 seconds away. It's like, are you serious? But then on top of that, he does things that are like in battle that make you go like, oh, that's me, right? Like, you would see, like, I think it was the Conquest fight, right, when he was like charging at him, he was like, stop. Bro tried to like talk no jutsu his way out of it, and it was like, that's perfectly justifiable. If you're getting beat up that hard, are you telling me you wouldn't try to stop the man just by like saying, like, trying to come to a conclusion? I would do that. I don't know about you guys, but if I was getting beat up that bad to the point where I literally did not lay a finger on him for like the past like 10 seconds, and you might not think that 10 seconds is a lot of time. We're moving at basically light speed at this point. You know how long 10 seconds is? I'm getting rocked. I would say wait too. Like, that's the thing that I like about Invincible. Yes, his comics might be a bit overrated because I could name you 20, 30, 40, 50 better comics than Invincible that might be probably a bit harder to read to newcomers, but overall in quality it is better. But as a character, I can't say that Mark Grayson is bad or overrated in the slightest. He deserves to be on a Mount Rushmore of the top 4 indie comic superheroes. If I ever made that video, he would definitely be on there. But now let's talk about Spawn. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Things like King Spawn is peak. Things like the Spawn animated TV series is peak. Spawn in Mortal Kombat is peak. Spawn is hype moments and aura galore when you read the comics though. Because Todd McFarlane as a writer is mad doo-doo. Dude, he should stick with being an artist, and when he does, it's perfect, because Todd McFarlane in the 90s was one of the biggest artists in the medium. He was the person who sold comics alongside people like Jim Lee, just basically the OG team that went to Image Comics to like start the company, were primarily artists. And those artists were the reason why a lot of comics just sold like hotcakes back in the day. They were the primary force. And I will not ever say anything on Spawn's name in terms of art. That was magical. But the problem with Spawn is that the pacing, the dialogue, you could tell whenever like someone like a Neil Gaiman or like a Alan Moore jumped in to do like some sort of story, you could just see the quality boost that much higher. But then you just saw how much lost potential there was in the character, because Todd McFarlane, he's great with overall big picture concepts and like world building, right? And he could draw the hell out of that. But the problem that comes out of it is when you have to make it coherent. And that, especially in Spawn's early days, maybe even for the first 100 issues, I don't even know. I like stopped at like 50, 60, but either way, they're pretty pictures to look at when you're bored. It's kind of like the Batman Hush effect. I will never ever recommend Batman Hush to any fan trying to get into Batman comics, but I will tell you that is the benchmark, the, I don't know, what's the right term? The shining star in the sky, I don't know, the beacon, whatever word I'm trying to use. That's the benchmark for what good Batman or just good comic art is in general. Jim Lee was on his timing when he did that, but the writing was, due to a lot of different factors, a lot of it because of editorial, it was not the best. Spawn, I cannot give Spawn that credit. There was no editorial. Todd was the editorial and it was still bad. So I know this is gonna get a lot of people angry, but Spawn purely succeeded off of design and aura. I think, what was, let's see, let me type it up right now because I'm kind of at a loss for words at the moment. I'm just losing his name. What's, Spawn voice actor? Keith David. If Keith David didn't voice Spawn, I don't think he would be as popular as he is right now. Like, I swear on everything, Keith David is the reason this man has so much charisma and why people like the character to this degree that they will bat, and they will bat in the comments. They will throw hands for the love of the game in the comment section at me for saying this, despite the fact that they have never read a single Spawn comic in their life. They will do that just because they know of Spawn through Keith David and his fantastic voice acting. And that, my friends, is the reason why Spawn's so popular. Not because his comics are good, but because of that actor. There it is. I said it. And feel free to argue with me if you want. Give me something that Todd's written that's a masterpiece. They're gonna show me something about that one like panel of like Spawn walking and like I don't know if it was like in hell or something, and there was like a bunch of like arms coming out and it was like in a cage and a bunch of superhero hands, and it was like supposed to be an analogy and for like, I don't know, Todd McFarlane having full creator rights of his character, like his character wasn't oh, let me stop. But these are the kind of the characters that I think get talked about a lot, or really just should be talked about. I think there's someone like Superman. I could mention Superman. People think Superman is overrated. For the most part, I think he's underrated just for the fact that a lot of people just hate on him for no reason. They say that he's so overpowered, but then they bat for like Spawn, who could like control time. Like, these people don't even know what they're talking about. You're a Goku fan. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even have to make an argument. Like, I could just shut you down right there. You like anime. What are you? Shut up. You're not clever. You're just stupid. What other characters? Spider-Man. If you hate Spider-Man, it's because of editorial. Spider-Man can't grow. He can't like succeed. If he had a good day in like one issue, the next issue for sure you're gonna see a nuke spawn on his house. Like, if you don't like Spider-Man now, that's perfectly justifiable. He deserves to be up there because of all the great comics he's had. But in the past 15 years, I don't think he's had a single great issue in ASM. Actually, no, I can't say that. During the Brand New Day, that's what it was called. After Brand New Day, they just put a bunch of different writers on there, just like as like on rotation, and they just I think they published 4 issues a month, which was crazy, right? But like during that time, they just got a bunch of different writers, and like Mark Waid was in there, Dan Slott in his prime was in there, Joe Kelly, JMD Mateus. Yeah, there is some great stuff there. But overall, as one succinct run, I don't really think there's been anything. You wouldn't miss much if you just didn't read Spider-Man for the next 5-10 years. If you went back into the catalog and read Spider-Man for the past 5-10 years, I think you would come up with brain damage. I think you shouldn't do that, and I think you shouldn't read current Spider-Man going forward, because they're going to resurrect Gwen Stacy and make her Gwenpool in current continuity. Isn't that crazy? Gwenpool is so popular, it's circled back around into being mainstream canon in a worse version. Like, why would you do that? Like, you just make Gwenpool comics. Is it that hard? And I'm getting a bit too out of myself. But overall, what do you guys think? Who is the most overrated character in your opinion? I know a lot of people are going to be hating down in the comments below. I welcome it, because if you can't have any self-control, that's on you, buddy. Thank you for the algorithm. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a new video goes live. As I've said previously, remember to drop any video ideas you guys have down below. It really helps out a ton, and I just like engaging with you guys. And what I'm going to be trying to do, like, in as quick as I possibly can, right, because I do have other video ideas, I'll try to kind of get some of those video ideas like out of the way just for you guys, get it done, have my own personal thoughts and opinions on it, and just create just an interesting point of discussion for everyone else just to chime in the comments down below. But yeah, see you in the next one. Take care.